Let's talk about Orcish. So this language that I made for NALA SAGA, it has a writing system. I'm not going to talk about it very much, but it's a phonetic alphabet, meaning that these symbols are sounds. N, A, L, S, A, G, goes from top to bottom and right to left. Beyond that, I'm not really going to talk about it right now. I'm just going to talk about sounds and vocabulary. So here is the prologue poem in English. Here's the prologue poem in Orcish. And then the narrative begins. We're not going to get into the narrative. That's the main thing, but let's just talk about the language right now. So this is basically saying Nala's life is a fairy tale. Nala Saga. It's a 9-book fairy tale. Think of it like that. And the way I tried to signal that is once upon a moonful night. So this is like a traditional opening to a poem in Orkshire, and specifically from the Dogmore family, from Nala's own family. Old Agrapo Gathmurgul. I have another poem called Mother Death. And you know that poem comes from Orkshire because it opens with Old Agrapo Gathmurgul. And Nala Saga will open and close with this line. This is the beginning and the end of Nala Saga. Once upon a moonful night, there was a girl who was an orc. Old Agrapo Gathmurgul agmukra ok oanini ba oja ok urk. So right away, Nini is like little girl, female child. It's much more like the word child in English. It's just saying like there was a child, who happened to be female. Old is once, and also a reference to Odin. Agrap, so this is past weaved. A gath, a night. Murgul is moonful. And just real quick, Multhren is the name of this opening poem. And Multhren, Mul and Mur both mean moon. Thren means thread, and that could be the thread that you sew with, but it could also be a life. So this could be like the thread of a life. So moon life, or a moon's life, or the moon goddess's life. Multhren. Old is once Agrap, O Gathmurgul, and then here we have Mukra is like their version of to be, although it literally means happened. And I'll make a video about that sometime. It has to do with fate. Fate is fixed in the world of Nala Saga. It's totally fixed. Lots of people have visions of the future. No one can change the future. And when I say no one, I mean like in book 9, there will be no one who can change the future. Period. So like, and there is lots of prophecy. There's lots and lots of prophecy, but the prophecy is always poetic and it's always in dreams. And so like things happen exactly as they're going to happen, for sure, always. But the way that you might see that, you might get some corrupted information because it often comes as poetry, as do the visions in, say, like A Song of Ice and Fire. And Mukra is me trying to bake that into the language. There was a girl it's not to be, it's not was, it's happened. Mukra, like their version of to be is this happened. There was a girl, there happened a girl. There's much less agency in the verb of mukra than there is in be. Agmukra ok onini. Well, we'll talk about sometime later. Maybe I'll ramble about some grammar at the end. This basically just says there's a big noun in a sentence, I held the pen. I am the big noun and the pen is the little noun. Not because of the size of us, but because I'm doing the holding and the pen is being held. So big noun, verbs, the little noun. The little noun is verbed by the big noun. So ua is this language's way to say this is the big noun of a sentence. Agmukra ok onini. And then it seems like it's missing the little noun, but that's because the sentence hasn't finished yet. The way that you put a period at the end of a sentence is you end with the little noun, largely. Agmukra ok onini ba oja ok urk. Who, big noun. Her or she, a orc. Orgi would be orcs. You add an I at the end of it, but orc is an orc. Agyari jal uasliditsich. Here we have, this is almost like a poem within the poem. This is meant to evoke Old Norse or Sumerian poetry or something. It's got this repetition baked into it, this ritual feel to it. Agyari jal ua, nga agyari jal ua, nga agyari jal ua, and then it's that second phrase of every line is the image, so to speak. So jal is hers. This is the possessive pronoun that gets its own sort of rules. We won't talk about that now, but it comes before ua. So her slitted eyes had yellow. Agyari jal ua sliddi tsich. Tsich is yellow. Slitted eyes are sliddi. And here, notice that dd, that's how I'm romanizing the. You can also romanize this as th, but then it gets confused with th, and I don't want to do that. You can also do dh, but I didn't want to do that either, because g and ch have h's attached to them, and I wanted to sort of reserve that sound for that looking thing, and that relates those words to the demon, which I like. Agyari jal ua sliddi tsich. Nga agyari jal ua segani gris. So segani is skin, gris is green. Nga is and. Nga agyari jal ua lagledd nul. So this is hair black. So what is this actually saying? This is saying her slitted eyes had yellow. Her skin had green. Her hair had black. And this is part poetic form, but partially whenever the magic happens in NALA Saga, it turns into poetry. And so their poetry is magical. It's inherently magical. This is invoking a spell almost, invoking a trance. Vel is when. Agshej, past touch. Jal, so this is again Jal ua lagledd, her hair. Velag shejal ua lagledd. Gulil is any. Il is actually all, but Gulil is any. All of these things is different from any of these things, right? Zalva. So this is where it gets pretty interesting, because Zalva just means light, but it's a very vague word for light, and it could mean many different things, including spirits of light, spirits of the sun god. And whenever the sun god is being invoked, look for this sound, this kind of like it's not should, it's not bun, it's and as dialects and accents and languages evolve, this elides. This gets bastardized a little bit to become zalva, which is this sound right here. But you can see from the ergative particle, these are different sounds. Right? Velag shejal lagledd kulil zalva. When her hair touched any light. Agil is drink, or ugruji. So usually this is translated to her black hair, when light tried to touch it, drank it in. But what the poem is actually saying in Orcish is Ugru, which is the goddess of shadows and the goddess of the moon, the goddess of merging and severing, who is reborn in Nala in this book. She, Ugru, drinks them. Ugru drinks them when her hair touches any light. Ugru drinks them being the lights. Ugru drinks the spirits of the sun, drinks the spirits of light. So in this world, light and darkness are different. In the real world, in physics, darkness is just the absence of light, scientifically speaking. This is a fantasy book, and so the shadows and souls and these other things that are incorporeal and not real, they have substance and they're real. Nga is and. Vel agdur, so this is when past turned. O is the. Ok is a, and O is the. So what is this? Vel agdur o oanini. So when this female child turned Owaiga Ogana. So this is years is Owaiga, and Ogana is 11. It's the number 11. When she turned 11, and this is also supposed to imply like dur is a measure of time as well as a physical thing that you can do. To turn is also like the turning of a year. Agiyumir, so dreamed. Orja, so she dreamed. Sa, and this is of, or like this is of, basically. This is sa and ba are interesting terms that both mean from or of. Agiyumir orja sa rayu, so this is wrath, dreams. Yu is dreams, and ra is anger. And this actually, Ra comes from Ungra, which is the god of vengeance and fire that was named a demon and trapped inside of 8 different artifacts, 8 different bone artifacts. So like the bone dagger has a little bit of Ungra in it. And Nala is beginning to have Ra dreams, Rayu. And I translated it 2 ways up here, true dreams and bad dreams, because Rayu actually has both of those connotations. And then we hear the sound of the demon, and then it launches into the narrative. So altogether, Oda grapo kasmugul, once upon a moonful night, Agmukra ok oanini, there was a girl, ba orja ok org, who was an orc. Agiari jal oasliditsich, nga agiari jal oasaganigri, nga agiari jal oalaglad nul. She had gold slitted eyes and dark green skin, her black hair. Vel agshez jal oalaglad gulil zalva. When light tried to touch it, agil o ugruji drank it in. And vel agdur o oanini waika ogana. When she turned 11, she agiumir orjasa rayu. She began to have true dreams, bad dreams. Now the darkness dissipates. That's a little look into just this little section of Orcish. My real dream with this is to have an anime of Nala Saga. It would be so expensive to paint her green every day, or like it could look pretty bad to color grade her skin as green in every shot and every scene. And so like I feel like anime is really just the way to go. But I want the anime to be all in diegetic speech. And by diegetic speech, I mean in-world speech. We're listening to them speak Orcish and reading subtitles of what they say in this anime. And so it's one dub. It's the Orcish dub. And when they meet in Book 2, when they meet characters who speak Neamese, those characters speak a language that I made for the humans of this world that fits on the language tree, and the sacred goblin fits on there, and they all have different writing systems and everything. And in the first trilogy, we only really see 3 of those languages in full, and I've already got one of them built, and it took about a month, all things considered. I'm still tweaking it for sure about 6 months later, but very, very small ways. I just very recently added Jal, having this very special place for possessive pronouns, because as I was thinking about I'm listening to somebody speak the language, it's hard to know when the possessive is happening and who it's happening about. And so I was like, I had an epiphany. If we put the possessive noun there, then the big noun still gets its place in the sentence when I'm listening to it. So that's my dream, man. That's my dream. Maybe sometime I will talk about how this turns into writing, but it's pretty straightforward. Each of these sounds has a symbol. It's got a glyph, and then you just write them down. And glyphs that get written together a lot, over time I just make new glyphs. I make new letters that are combinations of those that make it faster and easier to write, because that is the point of writing, actually, is to capture thought. And that goes for any language. That goes for this fictional language that I just made up. When Paka is writing, he's going to come up against ua all the time. And so he's going to have a very fast way of writing ua. you know, and then there will become shorthand, and then that shorthand will become other languages, and that will evolve into the goblin and the giant and, you know, the burrow folk scratch and little things like that. So, man, I hope some of that made sense.